Good afternoon, good afternoon. This is Kat Lopez-Shelby. I'm the founder and CEO of Shelby Technology Solutions, and I am super excited for you to join us on another episode of Tech and Tequila. I'm so super excited and blessed to have two amazing gentlemen on the podcast today, and kind of to finish out our series on unified communications as a service, CPaaS and CCaaS. We have two amazing gentlemen for Virtue, and without any more, I will let each of them introduce themselves. So thank you guys for being on today.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having us.
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, so my name is Ryan Wills. I am the new channel account executive with Virtue. I've been here 6 months, so I've been doing some learning and training from my counterpart here, Matt, and our other counterpart in Florida, Al Lyons. I've had a great experience so far with the team. Everybody's been really great. Leadership and ownership are awesome. And I come from a TSD background. I spent some time with Teleris before coming on to Virtue. So doing a lot of learning this side of the house now, if you will.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Matt Jacobin. I'm the channel director over our Western region here at Virtue. My history and background, I jumped into tech with the website Zillow, if you guys are familiar with that, way back in the day. And then made a leap over to telecommunications. I had a friend that started up a small business. I've worked in our telco space in direct sales, channel sales as a channel manager. I've also worked as a channel director, which is my role right here, but I've had that role with 3 different companies. I also have my own agency for a good number of years as well before exiting that to get into this exciting opportunity. So seen multiple angles of the channel. I love the channel. I love the people in it, and I love how dynamic it is.
Yes, and thank you guys both for being on. I love kind of, for lack of a better term, having somebody that's a little newer to the channel, because it always brings life to the channel, and having someone who's been around, because it's great to have someone who has experience and the experience of not only owning your own agency, but working in different solutions. I know I'm sure this comes up because there are so many different unified communication providers or cloud-based phone system providers. But can you just give me kind of a little history about Virtue, like how they started and how they came to be, so that everyone can understand, where Virtue fits and, their story?
Yeah, if Ryan, if you don't mind, I'll hop in. It's kind of a cool, unique story. So years ago, I want to say about 15 years ago, 2 separate businesses started as providers, and it was our 2 co-founders, Rob and Dan. So what they were doing was they were working as a white label provider, selling to their own local market. So they were selling VoIP to their own local market. And they were working with a now competitor of ours. And they met at a conference, and they had been both individually toying with the idea of hosting their own switch and taking their business to the next level. They both developed a friendship through going to that providers conference. And they said, why don't we just go into business together? So they said, let's pool our resources. Let's join teams, right? And they created Virtue. So what they did was they shopped around for a switch that would be good for their market. Small to mid-sized businesses that needed a lot of customization, that needed a flexible platform. And then they found NetSapiens, which we're really proud to say we're one of the first partners of NetSapiens. And we've been customizing on top of the platform for about 10 years now. So when they joined forces, they renamed, they dropped their own individual company names. There's some cool stories there that they like to tell at our annual partner conference. And they created Virtue. They had a very small team, small go-to-market. They were providing 2 different, so here's where we get in the channel. They were providing 2 different partnership programs, which were pretty cool and unique. One is your traditional agent channel, which I'm very well versed in, and I've been a part of for a very long time. It was great, where they had agents out there, referring deals, working with the Virtue team for pre-sales, and then we would support directly. Virtue would support the customer directly post-sales, pay good competitive commissions. And then they also had their white label program, where they were working with partners that were just like them and white labeling solutions. And so what happened was they started to grow in headcount, and we flashed forward to today where we're over to 70 people strong. We have a pretty significant investor that gave us funding last year, which really accelerated our growth. We've got a full proprietary quote to cash tool where we're helping smaller partners basically become bigger partners, or at least seem like that to their customers, where they can provide full end-to-end solutions, whether it's the full commerce journey, configuring a very customizable instance for their customers to be able to be flexible and adaptive on voice. So that's kind of where we are today. Sorry for the long story, but yeah, it's very exciting to be part of.
No, not at all. I think it's great when you see a company that starts where you have two people that kind of have a similar idea, but maybe a different background and a different way to bring it to market, and they work together to start. So I love that about Virtue. But one of the things that I know when I'm interacting with a client that's looking at a phone system and we're going through what their needs are, why would you say like pick Virtue over anyone else? Like what are some of the key features or key things that you guys feel Virtue really leads the path, especially for like what you were saying, you're, small, medium, even larger size customer, but, different features and solutions that you offer?
Yeah, to steal a football term, voice is a game of inches, right? Because so many platforms are so similar. Features are basically flat from provider to provider to provider. So one thing that stands out is, and I know it sounds simple, but the UI, everything's in just plain English. It's very easy to configure users. It's very easy to configure auto attendance. You've got flexibility with small things like timeframes, right? So you can set temporary time domains and attach the appropriate auto attendant. And then customizations that we have in the platform, or integrations we have in the platform. We've got something that sounds small, but is very big to our customers. And that's AI messaging integration, AI on-hold marketing, right? And this is huge for small businesses because it allows them to sound very, very, very professional to their customer base. It also eliminates time of maybe somebody who's owning the phone system at a given customer's location, recording a whole bunch of messages, not liking how they sound, right? Things of that sort. And then, the number of voices or number of devices that we can register on the platform. For most cases, we can do zero-touch provisioning, so we can make the provisioning and implementation process simple. Then you get to, everyone says they have great support. We've got a great support team. I'll just say this: they're fun to interact with, right? And they're very informative. So nobody's dreading interacting with our support, whether it's submitting a ticket or picking up a phone. We've got a very streamlined onboarding process, and we make sure that our partner accounts grow. Again, one of the powers of the platform is that customers can handle their MACDs. It's very easy for them to spin up a new user. It's very easy for them to use features like soft phones. We even have call center functionality built into the platform. Now, I do want to pause on this because I used to work for a call center company. They're actually one of our partners today. But a big enhancement to the platform, both on our agent partner side and our white label partner side, is to be able to empower small support teams with basic call center functionality without overwhelming them with the very advanced call center software that's out there today. Because a lot of times, if you go to a small clinic and you really start to dive in, we used to always say at my old company, there's a call center in every company, right? There's a support team in every company. When you dive into that support team, when you find like maybe a group of nurses have to be on call at a specific time, right? How do we measure and monitor those calls? How do we provide statistics? How do we get them to the right person? Now we're starting to go into call center functionality. And the NetSapiens platform that we've customized, our platform, we can give that basic call center functionality to those support teams without breaking the bank. And I mean, it is wildly affordable on our platform.
No, and I think those are all really good points. And if there's anyone listening that, has never interacted like an on-prem phone system, obviously, first off, going from on-prem to a hosted cloud phone system, back in the day, if you wanted to change your hours or you needed to change a phone or do something like that, a lot of the times it required a technician to come on site which kind of like blows our mind these days, especially, after, we'll say after, 2020, because so many people are remote and so many things need to be done. And, I like that she really pointed out the ease of utilization of the back end, like the administration portal, because I can tell you right now, I have worked on the back end of some cloud-based phone systems where I even have someone come over and like help that has worked on phone systems for 15 plus years and is like, oh, we're gonna have to call in about this. Like, this is not simple, like, copy paste move switch, which is huge, especially when you are talking about your smaller to mid-sized customer, or I mean, in some cases larger customers that have a very, we all know how many openings there are in the tech field, but have a super, tiny IT staff that is doing the work of like 15 people with 2 or 3 people. So definitely, those are all great points. I would be remiss if I did not ask you, because I am a firm believer in talking about the point of, you need to have a backup plan for your backup plan for your backup plan. So can you speak a little bit to kind of the redundancy that Virtue has set in to make sure that they stay up no matter, what happens to the systems in the back?
Yeah. So, we've got 2 levels of redundancy, right? So we definitely have carrier redundancy on the back end. And then when it comes to our platform, for one of the providers in space, in our space, we've got a pretty big infrastructure. So we've got 5 data centers, and we take an active geo-redundant stance. So that way, what we're doing is we're making sure that all of our customers are going to be registered in 2 different locations to prevent any type of downtime. What we also do is we have a network status page, and it's linked right on our website, where you can go check our history, our uptime history. We haven't gone down over the 8 years that we've been monitoring. We take uptime incredibly seriously.
Yes, and all businesses appreciate that, because you never know how much, like I say, how much money, but how much revenue it can cost a customer to be out, especially, I know I interact with some moving companies, and they're like, if we don't answer and we can't get them a quote within this amount of time, they're just like on to the next. They're not waiting to talk to us or do this. And, I don't know about you guys' patience. I know I'm not the most patient person. It's like, okay, let me call this other company right now and see who can get a hold of them. So that's huge. You talked about something that I would be, it's a trending topic in tech, and that's AI. And so how does Virtue currently use AI, and not to give away, the whole future, because we don't have a crystal ball, but where do you see it moving in the future for you all?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big question, right? We use generative AI internally a lot. Just, everything from answering simple questions to trying to streamline processes. So internally, we're playing around with AI very consistently. We've aligned ourselves with some companies that are using AI when it comes to call routing and actually integrating into the phone system. And we're really analyzing, and I think a lot of companies are, how can we best implement and where the biggest customer value and customer impact is going to be. So I can speak on behalf of a little bit on behalf of our CEO. I've sat in on his presentations and panels. He's gone to industry events to talk specifically about AI. I think I can think of 2 events, IT Expo being one of them last year, where he spoke on an AI panel. This is something that we are looking very closely at. The first integration of AI we just hit a couple months ago, and that is that voice studio that we have. Here's what's really interesting. We had at our partner event called Virtue Connect, which we hold every year for all of our partners. It's a fun time. It was in Clearwater last year or this year. We brought a whole bunch of vendors that were either, companies that support our partners, that were adjacent companies, that were integrations that we had. The AI voice studio was far and away the most popular. Now, if you ask me, it's pretty simple integration, right? We're just creating on-hold marketing messages and auto-attendant messages and things of that sort. But the idea that AI can simplify things on the customer and the partner side was incredibly intriguing. So when you ask the question about AI, I think every company needs to be taking a very, very, very deep look at how AI plays in their in their space. They have to. So yeah, that's kind of our stance on AI. So kind of a long way of saying we're really looking at it right now.
No, I love that. And I love when you bring back up the topic of like the messaging and things of that nature, because, I think when you work in the tech field, sometimes you take for granted, like, oh, it's just recording a voicemail. Sometimes let's say your executive director leaves and the new executive director has the old executive director's like voicemail or messaging, or, I'm not going to say this company, but I worked with a company that had the event from the year before still on their voicemail a year later, which, by the way, I have recorded, just based on the fact that they're like, this is not, simple. This was not easy. We couldn't figure it out. And it's not, I was going to say, it's not always where it's like, okay, just click here on the phone, hit record, kind of like when we think of our cell phones, like you want to re-record your voicemail. If you have an iPhone, you go into your voicemail, you click down and you do it. Whereas you have to find a way to record it through your, let's say your computer desktop or your phone. And then you have to find a way to make sure that you can get it switched over to the actual voice format so you can upload it to the system. So it can be very complicated. And I think the thing is that anything you can uncomplicate and make easier for a client is always huge and worth talking about. Can you kind of explain how Virtue works with Cloudflare, or what exactly that is?
Other than, we use the Magic Transit platform for DDoS mitigation. So we work pretty closely with them. The ins and the outs of the integration, I gotta tell you, all I know is that it works, right? So we're doing a good job because we take that very seriously. Again, with our customer side, we need to prevent DDoS attacks. We need to make sure that our customers have peace of mind, right? So we have 3 different layers. We've got fraud mitigation, we've got the DDoS mitigation, and then we also work with stir shaking for spam protection then as well. Because what we want is, we want our customers to feel secure, and that the calls coming in are calls that they want to pick up the phone, right, for. So this is kind of our approach there.
Yes. No, I love that pattern. And I guess, that kind of leads to, I always say that most hosted or cloud phone systems have what I call table stake. So I think a table stake is like a mobile app, a desktop app. Obviously your desktop would be simplification. But what would you say, are things that Virtue has that covers those table stakes? I mean, I don't want to say is there anything missing, but, when someone brings Virtue to the table or looks at Virtue as an option, you're like, this, we got it all covered and you don't have to worry.
Yeah. So, outside of the flexibility of the platform, one of the cool things that we do is we take a community-based approach to our development. So kind of answering this question in a roundabout way, we've got a very large base of white label partners, and our founders, Dan and Rob, were providers, right? So they were the ones that were submitting feature requests and, on the ground level with their customers. So we have in our platform, our proprietary quote to cash tool for our white label partners, it's called Vibe. We have a feature request page. We also have a very open Slack channel. So what that allows all of our partners to do is to take a community-based approach to what they want to see on the platform. So that allows us to be super flexible and say, we're not just going to be our own little think tank and create enhancements, right, and roll out updates based on what we think the market's going to want. We're actually taking what people are working closely with customers are saying that customers need, and we're implementing that. Now, coming back to your question, one of those things is the mobile app. You have a lot of phone systems that might have, web-based app that's integrated, right? We have that. And it's a progressive web app, so it can be downloaded and put in the menu tray for the customers, for the end users. But there are customers out there that say, no, we need a true application, right? So we have that option as well. So what we're doing is we're building, and that's an app that we developed. So we're building those customizations for the customer so that when they come on board with us, we can not just say, what do you need? Because customers don't always know what they need. They very rarely know what they need, right? But we can walk them through their options and say yes way more often than we're saying no.
Got it. And that's obviously great, because customers hate to hear like, oh no, now you're in and we can't do anything about that. It's never a fun conversation to have. I know you talked about stir and shaking kind of very briefly. But as far as like you guys staying with compliances, um, I'm sure you guys stay up to date with, most everything, especially when you're talking about your payment portal. Um, is there anything that you have a lot of clients that are coming to you asking about now, and you're like, yep, we've got it covered. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. So just overall in general, yeah. So like I would say this, on the partner side, a lot of our partners, let's go to the white label side. They want to know and understand and be in the driver's seat for their customer, right? They don't want to have to consistently submit tickets to us. So one aspect of that is, a full call diagnostic, full call history, whether it's looking at the sit flow, whether it's looking cradle to grave. That's a pretty big power piece to the platform, especially on the white label partner side. Other things, other features, on the customer side, it's interesting because every customer is at a different level of innovation, right? So we have customers where we just show them a mobile app and they are thrilled. I would say one of the nice parts of our platform, how granular and customizable our answering rules are. So you can have a end user with multiple devices attached to their extension. They can have multiple apps attached. They can have a handset attached, right? Their soft phone as well, a couple different soft phones, and they can create and customize their own ring rules depending on where they are at that moment in time, where they're working, how they're working, right? So it allows end users more flexibility and more options.
No, and I love that, kind of like taking the find me, follow me to a whole nother level, because it's like,
Yeah.
Okay, here, I want all these phones to ring so that they can get a hold of me no matter where I'm at. I love that. I really liked when you pointed out, and this may just be me being selfish as an agency owner, that cradle to grave screen, because it's almost like I could send a screenshot to a customer and be like, when I asked you, what time did you have that call drop and what was the phone number? This is why, because you can literally like look and say, okay, so this call, here's where it went and all that, and map it backwards. Because, as being on the other side, I worked for an on-prem phone system dealer before. It's those details help you diagnose what is the issue, as well as come up with, is this the network issue? Is this our issue? Like, you have to have that in order to truly diagnose and get to the bottom of it. And it makes things so much faster in the long run.
It does. It does. Yeah. I mean, we can even add notes directly on the call so that way everyone's on the exact same page, right? When we're taking a look at that cradle to grave report.
Exactly. Well, I think that really kind of covers the nuts and bolts and virtue. But generally speaking, what I always have any guests that come on the podcast is that go over 3 things that you're like, this is what Virtue does well. This is where we really fit. And if this is what you need, give us a call, find one of our partners so that, we can get Virtue in your business. What would you guys say is those 3 things?
Yeah. I guess I would say the simplicity of our switch. Very easy to use, very easy to navigate. Our offering when it comes to training. So we have a whole Virtue learning center. So I think that's very helpful as well. And then just the proprietary front end vibe. Most other providers charge for this. So when I was coming in learning about this, this was a highlight for me to point out, because it makes billing, quoting, number porting, number purchasing very easy. And then the compliance and the taxation piece that most people are worried about stepping into white labeling, we take care of that for them within Vibe as well with the tax mapping feature. So I'd say those things. And then our team, right? This is the first team I've really worked with where everybody's helping everybody out. We all kind of have one vision, one dream. So I think that kind of shows whenever we're talking with partners and prospects. So it's just it's a good vibe, no pun intended.
I like it.
I love that.
Yeah, and if I can add, our platform, and this is from our partners. Our platform has been called, the Apple, the iOS of UCAS, right? Because of that simplicity and that ease of use, and it was built for small businesses, mid-sized businesses to be empowered and not, like your point earlier, not have to submit tickets for everything. That is it's cumbersome, right? It adds friction. not only the provider to the partner. I've been on that side of that. But if I can add something that I'm really excited about that we didn't touch on, kind of the next generation of our company, is our marketplace. So what we've done is we're putting, and this is one of the big reasons why I came over to the company, is we believe that there are some very clear trend lines in the industry. Most companies are wanting to work small and local. When you deal with customers that are down the street, even if it's your local franchise, your local manufacturer, they're asking where you're located, right? And we're also seeing, because of a lot of the things that are going on with a lot of the different vendors, whether it's changes in commissions, changes in support, things of that sort, we're hearing a lot more agents, they want to be more in control, right? Because they worry about renewal rates. They worry about staying in front of the customer. So what we're doing is we're building that platform vibe in which partners can have a direct billing relationship directly with their customers. And then, depending on the vendor that they're either reselling, they can go all the way up to full white label if they want to provide some direct support, or if they want to, kind of step back, but just own that direct bill relationship with the customer while the vendor then supports the customer directly. It empowers the agents to have better valuation, to have better margin, right? And then a better customer relationship. You don't have to worry as much come renewal time because they're seeing your invoice every month. And I can tell you straight away, that was our biggest challenge on the agency side. When we would bring in a couple different providers and we would piecemeal a solution, we go voice, network, security, we would have to find a way to put our agency in between a lot of communications to show value, consistent value to the customer. And a big risk was that provider working directly with that customer and saying, oh, no, we'll renew you direct or something. We all know how things can kind of go in the channel. So we're working to fix that. We're working to fix all of that. So that's what I'm really excited about in terms of next generation of our company outside of the platform today.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful point. You saw my nod in your head. And I always say this, I don't think any particular supplier goes out of their way, but you never know, a new person comes on or something switches. I mean,
human error.
Exactly. And I was going to say, and I can speak to it with lots of my customers in West Texas. That is one of the things that they talk about all the time is, I was with so-and-so and they had somebody that was local. And now I'm talking to somebody, I'm just going to stay out of Chicago, where
sure.
In my mind, this probably is going to age me, but I think of that, that salsa commercial where they're like, out of New York City, it's that philosophy. I want someone who, I can talk to, who I can get a hold of, and how important that is. And I think you guys really nailed it with that right there. And the flexibility is amazing. So first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. I know it's Friday at 1:30. So on a holiday weekend, nonetheless, and y'all still decided to join. So thank you very much.
We won't miss it.
But
thanks for having us,
Last but not least, since the podcast is called Tech and Tequila, what is you guys' favorite tequila drinks, or what we all be enjoying this holiday weekend? Should I ask?
Go ahead, Ryan. Right. You look like you got something teed up.
Oh, that's funny. So tequila sunrise is good, but when it comes to tequilas or just liquors in general, I got to be pretty careful with what I choose because I can have an allergic reaction, unfortunately, to a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's and I found out the hard way. But I will say tequila, I always really just go for El Jimador. I know it's kind of basic, but that's one that I know that I can drink and be okay with. So I use that a lot when I make homemade margaritas. I do that for my family when we have gatherings. I picked up a recipe from an old roommate a long time ago, and I've been rolling with it, and everybody loves it. So El Jimador is what I always grab.
I love it.
Awesome.
What about yourself?
So I'm not, I used to be a pretty big bourbon guy back in the day. And when I was drinking tequila, I'm sorry if this is so, just basic, but we were doing the chilled Patron shots. That's about as far as I went, right? We were back in the party days, right? Back in the party days. Yeah. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about, some of the better tequilas out there, but that's what comes to mind as of now.
There you go.
Well, I was going to say, I have to say this. If you haven't tried it, I always say try Circulo or Flecho. Great tequilas, very smooth. They have, the Rosado, plus they have the Blancos. Amazing. Absolutely love it. But I cannot thank you guys again enough for joining me today. And just thank you for letting everybody know.
Real quick, what will you be drinking this holiday weekend?
Yeah, that's it.
It's funny because I just took like one of those drink making classes, and so I think we're gonna go a little upstyle and have like a hibiscus margarita this weekend with definitely some Circular or Fletcher. Those are my two favorites right now.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you again, guys, and I appreciate you joining.
Thanks, Pat.
See you guys.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Tech and Tequila. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. To stay updated about all things tech and more, don't forget to visit us at our website, shelbyts.com. If you loved what you heard, remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. Your 5-star ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help us to reach more listeners just like you. So muchas gracias again for joining us with Tech and Tequila. Thank you so much. You learned a lot about tech, but maybe you had a nice drink of tequila.